Welcome to my channel.
And this is English Podcast Station.
We are going to be going over some pretty interesting stuff, I think. We're going to be tackling those first 100 words you got to learn in English. You know, like getting a really solid grasp on those. We've got a bunch of different perspectives, some podcast excerpts, some language guides, that kind of thing. It's going to be really interesting to kind of break down why these words are so important. You know, for those of you out there, ever wonder how to like quickly build some confidence and unlock basic communication? Well, these 100 words, they're the key.
Yeah, you know, it's wild how much power these like seemingly simple words actually have. I mean, they're like, think of it like the foundation of a house, right? You can't build anything sturdy or impressive without a solid base. And, you know, just like when you're building a house, you use the same building blocks over and over to make the whole structure. Well, it's the same with language. These 100 words, they're the core components of so many phrases and sentences in English.
That's such a good way to think about it. So we're not just memorizing a random list of words here.
Yeah.
We're understanding how they're like the fundamental pieces to building your English, right?
Exactly. And what makes these 100 words even more important is that they come up all the time, constantly, you know, everyday conversations. Like, think about it. Basic greetings. Hello, goodbye. Simple questions. Where, what. Essential verbs like go, eat, see. These are like the backbone of, you know, how we talk to each other every single day.
Right. So if you can recognize and use these words, you're not just learning vocabulary. I mean, you're actually getting the ability to understand what's happening around you and even participate, like in real life situations.
Yeah, precisely. And get this, our sources, they actually suggest that if you can master these high frequency words, you can unlock a huge part of everyday English. Like some studies even say up to 50%. So just imagine you could understand like half of a normal English conversation just by knowing these 100 words.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like, I don't know, having a secret decoder ring or something, you know? But how do you go from just recognizing words to feeling confident in real life situations? That feels like a big jump to me.
It's a great question. And you're right, it's not just about understanding, but there's a real psychological benefit to recognizing those words. Like imagine you're in a totally new place and you hear some words you know, even if you don't get everything, just hearing familiar sounds, it helps you feel more comfortable, you know, less intimidated.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like those little wins help you keep going to learn more, and then eventually, you know, you start to use the words yourself.
Exactly. And you know what? Even native English speakers, we don't always realize how much we use these simple words. They're just so normal for us, we take them for granted. But for someone learning English, getting how these words work, it's huge for making sentences and saying what you want to say.
So these 100 words, they're like the building blocks, and they can help you understand half of everyday English. That's amazing. But what's also really interesting to me is how many different types of words are in this list, right? It's not all just nouns.
Oh, absolutely not. Think about pronouns, right? I, you, he, she. Super important for knowing who's who in a conversation. Then you've got your basic verbs like go, eat, see. Those describe actions. And then you have things like prepositions, on, in, at. Those tell you how things are related to each other.
It's crazy how all these different types of words work together to create meaning. You can start forming basic sentences and saying what you mean, all with just those first 100 words.
Exactly. And as you learn more, you'll find that you can combine a lot of these basic words to make more complex phrases, you know, and express yourself better.
It's like those 100 words are the key to a whole universe of English. But let's face it, memorizing a list, even if it's only 100 words, can be kind of tough, especially when you're just starting out. What are some ways to make learning this stuff more fun, you know, especially for beginners?
Well, that's the great thing about learning a language. There are so many ways to do it. And our sources, they talk about a few that are really good for mastering these first 100 words.
Okay, I like it. Let's get to the practical stuff. What are some of those fun and effective strategies we can use? How can we really learn those first 100 words and make them stick? Okay, so we know those first 100 words, they're like the foundation, right? But how do we actually like get them to stick in our brains?
Well, one thing that really jumped out from our research is this idea of labeling things around your house, you know, with the English words. It might sound super basic, but it actually works really well.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. So instead of just seeing a chair, you see the word chair right there in your house. It's like bringing the language learning into your life.
Exactly. It makes it real. Every time you pass that chair or you grab something from the refrigerator, you see the word. It's not just some abstract thing anymore.
And it's fun too, right? You can use different colored sticky notes or write in crazy fonts or even like draw little pictures next to the words.
For sure. You can totally get creative with it. And, you can even do it with friends or family who are learning English too. You can quiz each other, turn it into a game. It makes it way more fun and social.
I love that. It doesn't feel like studying then. It's just like playing around with the language. Speaking of fun and games, our sources also mentioned some pretty cool apps for learning these first 100 words. The game-based learning kind of apps.
Oh yeah, those can be really cool. Technology, it can be awesome for language learning, especially when it keeps things interesting. And these apps, they're made for beginners, so they really focus on those first 100 words.
And what's cool is they use a bunch of different ways to teach, right? Some have quizzes, some have those memory games where you match words with pictures. Some even have like virtual flashcards.
Yeah, and a lot of them use those like game elements where you earn points or unlock new levels or even compete against other people. It makes it more like, a challenge, which can be really motivating.
It's way better than just trying to memorize a list, that's for sure. But okay, sometimes you just got to go back to basics, right? Like flashcards.
Oh, flashcards, they never go out of style. Might seem a bit old school, but they really work. They're easy to take anywhere, and you can use them for quick review sessions. It's classic for a reason.
And nowadays, you don't even have to make your own. You can find tons of pre-made flashcards online, especially for those first 100 words. They usually even have pictures and show you how to say the words.
Totally. And don't underestimate how powerful repetition is, Flashcards force you to actually remember the word. It's way more effective than just reading a list. It really helps those words sink in.
So lots of good options, right? Labeling stuff, apps, flashcards. It's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
But what about when you want to go beyond just looking at words?
Well, then it's time to really start listening to English. And there are so many fun ways to do that. Listening to podcasts like this one, watching movies or TV shows, even listening to music.
Oh, I love using music for language learning. Those catchy tunes and the way they repeat the words, it really makes them stick.
It's true. Think about how easy it is to remember the words to your favorite songs, even if you haven't heard them in a while. Music just has this way of getting into your brain.
It's like you're learning without even realizing it. And speaking of sneaky ways to learn, our sources also talk about actually using English in everyday situations.
Yes, that's so important. Even if you're just starting out, you can find little ways to use those first 100 words in real life. Start with simple things like hello and goodbye. Then try asking basic questions like, how are you? Or where's...
I know it can feel a little scary at first. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. And don't worry about making mistakes. Everyone does, especially when they're learning.
That's right. In fact, mistakes are good. They help you see what you need to work on, and they make you try again.
Yeah. And sometimes you end up having these funny stories because of your mistakes, and those are the ones you always remember. So it's all about finding ways to have fun with it, right?
Definitely. Learning those first 100 words doesn't have to be boring. It can be an adventure. A fun way to discover a new language.
It really is. And it's about finding what works for you, whether it's using flashcards, listening to music, or just talking to people. What matters is that you're doing something with those 100 words and making them a part of your life. Okay, so we've talked about all these great ways to learn your first 100 words in English. But what happens after that? Do you just move on to the next 100?
That's a really good question. And it kind of gets to something really important about learning a language. Mastering those first 100 words, that's a huge accomplishment. But it's really just the beginning. It's you've opened the first door in this big, amazing house of language. There's still so much more to discover.
Yeah, it can be kind of overwhelming when you think about how much there is to learn. So how do we keep going?
Yeah.
Without getting discouraged?
Well, one thing our sources all agree on is that you got to set realistic goals. Instead of freaking out about learning every single word in the English language, break it down into smaller pieces you can actually manage.
So instead of, I need to learn all the English words, you can say, okay, I'm going to learn 10 new words this week. Or I want to be able to have a 5-minute conversation in English by the end of the month.
Exactly. Those smaller goals feel way more achievable. And when you reach them, it feels good. And that feeling, that sense of accomplishment, that's what keeps you going.
It's like you got to celebrate those wins along the way, right?
Yeah.
Did our sources say anything about how to mark those milestones?
They did. One thing that came up a lot was finding ways to actually use your new English skills in real life. Even if it's just for a few minutes each day, like maybe order your coffee in English or chat with a friend who's also learning. Those little moments of practice add up.
It's like making your whole life a language learning game. But okay, sometimes you need a little more help, right? What about all those resources that are out there?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. Books, apps, websites, our sources mention everything. They even talked about online communities where you can connect with other learners all over the world. It's amazing.
I know. Technology has made it so much easier to learn languages. You've got personalized lessons, interactive exercises, pronunciation help. There are even these AI chatbots now that can practice conversation with you. It's wild.
And the best part is you can totally personalize it, Like if you learn best by seeing things, there are tons of apps with pictures and flashcards. If you're more of an auditory learner, there are podcasts and audiobooks and music. You can find something that works for you.
There's no excuse for not finding a method you like, right? So many options. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier about language learning being a marathon, not a sprint. That's such an important thing to remember.
Totally. You're going to have moments where you get frustrated. You might feel discouraged, it's like you're not making progress, but you got to remember, learning a language, it takes time, it takes effort, and you have to be consistent. Just keep going.
Yeah. Be patient with yourself, celebrate the small wins, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. And most importantly, have fun. It should be enjoyable.
Couldn't have said it better. All right, before we go, one final thought-provoking question for everyone listening. So you know how powerful those first 100 words are, and you know there are tons of resources out there to help you learn them. So what's one small thing you can do today to start using them?
Maybe you could label something in your house, or try out a new language learning app. You could even just say hello to someone in English. It doesn't have to be a big thing, just a little step in the right direction.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear what you decide to do. Tell us about it on social media, or tell a friend who's learning English too. Or just take a minute to think about what you're going to do. It's your language learning journey.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into those amazing first 100 words of English. We hope you're feeling inspired and ready to keep learning. Until next time, happy learning, everyone.